Pakistan's defense minister recently stepped in front of the press and publicly drew a red line. He issued a direct, unambiguous warning of military action against India. The threat was highly specific. If the flow of river water crossing the border into Pakistan is interrupted, Islamabad will view it as an act of war and respond with force. And there is a strict timeline attached to this warning. By the year 2028, India is projected to execute significant infrastructure plans that will divert a large portion of the Indus River's flow toward its own internal states. Under the framework of the Indus Water Treaty, India is entirely within its legal rights to harness these rivers for domestic agriculture and hydroelectric development. But what New Delhi views as standard domestic engineering, Islamabad is categorizing as a direct existential threat to its national security. Alongside the decades of tension over territory, the control of the Indus is emerging as a primary, immediate trigger for mobilization. The next kinetic clash in this region may be dictated by the simple flow of H2O. Look at the geography. The Indus River originates in India, flowing into Pakistan. The first major draw is Punjab province, where massive volumes are siphoned off for agriculture. The remaining water continues south, bleeding volume until hitting its geographic dead end, the megasay of Karachi. Even today, Karachi reels from severe shortages. Up to 70% of the city already endures chronic, extended disruptions to their daily water supply. When you factor in India's planned 2028 diversions, the math becomes grim. With less water crossing the border initially, upstream agricultural needs will consume almost everything, leaving Karachi virtually dry. Geography has boxed Pakistan into a corner. They cannot physically move their cities or march across the border to halt construction, so their leadership is actively discussing a kinetic military solution. Historically, the sequence of engagement between these two powers has followed a specific pattern. In recent skirmishes, like those in 2016, 2019, and early 2025, India initiated the primary strikes in response to terror events. But Pakistani defense circles are circulating a radical departure from that norm. They are openly proposing a massive preemptive strike. The stated objective of this first strike strategy is highly specific, a coordinated, immediate assault aimed squarely at key Indian air bases. The tactical goal is clear. By neutralizing advanced Indian fighters on the tarmac before they scramble, Pakistan hopes to severely cripple New Delhi's counterattack. Executing this attack requires an enormous geopolitical gamble. Pakistan rests this entire strategy on a newly perceived alignment with current United States leadership. Recent rhetoric from U.S. politicians has signaled heavy, deliberate backing for the highest levels of Pakistan's military command, emboldening their strategic planners. The underlying logic relies entirely on outside intervention. Cause severe, localized destruction immediately, and then bet that Washington will step in to freeze the conflict before India mobilizes its full military weight. This shift accelerates a gradual environmental crisis into a military standoff. It places the region on a timer where a first strike is rationalized as necessary national defense. The mere existence of this preemptive doctrine lowers the threshold for a major war on the subcontinent. And with the 2028 water deadline approaching rapidly, the risk of a panicked, state-backed first strike increases with every passing month. For India, this necessitates a complete evaluation of their defensive posture. The military can no longer afford to sit back and wait to respond to asymmetric terror attacks. They must immediately pivot toward hardening their critical infrastructure and securing their air bases against a sudden, overwhelming preemptive assault from a neighboring state. In an era of shrinking global resources, the scarcity of water is functioning as a direct catalyst for preemptive war between nuclear-armed nations.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.